Welcome to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 10. I'm Cade Krankus, back here in the Ashland University Journalism and Digital Media Department TV studio, and I'm joined alongside Coach Geiser. Coach, it's great to be back in our old stomping grounds.
Absolutely, absolutely. We got a little bit different backdrop than last year, but I think I like it.
I do too.
I can grow to like this, and after being off for a 1-week hiatus, we're ready to get going again.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it gives that more sporty vibe for sure. It feels more like we're sitting down, just guys chatting about sports. And my personal favorite, obviously your favorite too, football. So let's dive into what we got on tap today. Coach, who do we have coming on the show?
Well, we're going to recap last week's game, and then we're going to have Jim Cordell, associate head coach, offensive line coach, run game coordinator, a lot of different titles there. We're going to have Caden Riddle, our starting left guard, 2-year starter there, having a tremendous season. And then, we're going to throw it back to you and have Lewis and Bryce, once again, the highest ranked segment of the show. We're going to have that once again. I think it'll be a full show. Yeah,
I think it's going to be a great time today. And two, we'll obviously add back in the standings, the schedule, and we'll also talk about the Super Region rankings because there's an awful lot that's going on right now at this point in the season. And with things dwindling down before we dive into the rest of the show, I got to ask you, Coach, how are you feeling? How are the guys doing at this point in the campaign with just 1 week to go in the regular season?
Well, it's not the outcome we wanted. Credit to Finley. They came in, they beat us on our field, played well, didn't make mistakes. And we made our share of mistakes and didn't play up to the level we needed to. But just like after a win or after a loss, we turned the page after 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, and we're on to Lake Erie. Yeah,
and speaking of Lake Erie, a little bit of a preview before we dive into, obviously, the nitty-gritty. What does Lake Erie offer, and what are you expecting from the guys this weekend?
Lake Erie is a greatly improved football team. Dave Price is a tremendous coach. They're recruiting well, doing things the right way. You can tell the kids are buying into the system. And you can definitely see improvement on tape. And so they're going to be fired up, looking to get their third win and look to wreck our season. So, we'll have a lot on our plate. They'll be a feisty bunch this weekend.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Should be a great one. And as a reminder, real quickly, if anyone wants to tune in, you can catch all the action at Flow College or on a rewind on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. So a ton of different ways for individuals to ingest it. But obviously the most important, Coach, coming up to Jack Miller Stadium.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a great venue. You get a chance to honor our seniors. That's probably the most important reason to come out this weekend is you got a group of guys that since 2022, they're 36-11 and 2 GMAC championships, 2 playoff appearances, a bowl win, first road playoff victory. So it's a group that has left quite a legacy here at AU, and they challenged the guys on Sunday, the underclassmen, to play for those guys. Be selfless and really play for those guys, play for your teammates, and give them a great memory in their last home game of the regular season of their senior year.
Yeah, it'll be great. And as a reminder, make sure to stay tuned for the entire episode of the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 10. We'll be just around the corner with more segments coming your way. Stay tuned right here on the Eagle Network.
At Ashland University, tradition meets innovation. From academic success to championship athletic programs, Ashland University is a place where students discover their passion and prepare for life after college. With small class sizes, dedicated faculty, and an active campus community, Eagles soar higher here in Ashland. This message is brought to you by Barefoot Floors in Ashland, Ohio, serving residential and commercial flooring needs in Ashland and surrounding areas for the past 38 years.
Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show. I'm WRDL correspondent Louis Tamira.
And I'm AUTV correspondent Bryce Gatton.
And Coach, we have a couple of questions here to talk to you about this past week's Finley game, and we'll make these questions as short as we can, and we'll focus on hopefully some of the positive outcomes of that game. But just starting off on it, that Oiler defense, that's just an incredible unit that they have put together over there. Just what are your thoughts on that?
It starts with the defensive coordinator. Tom Rebholz does a tremendous job, understands schemes, understands how to take away your best portions of your attack. And then you couch that on top of they have some tremendous players on all three levels. You know, I'd say probably the keys to their defense, I think, are probably number 95, Lennon Claxton, and then also number 2, Johnny Harris. And their linebackers are really good, Sam Wyrau and Kevin Henderson. But, you know, having number 95 up front, kind of controlling that front, you know, is a good place to start. And then, you know, Johnny Harris kind of acts as an eraser. And, you know, kudos to both those guys and Coach Allen putting that group together. And, you know, it's a very salty unit.
Now, you guys were down 2 scores at the half. How much does that kind of affect your game plan that you had going into the game?
Not much really at all. I mean, it's still within range of being able to do the things we want to do game plan wise, and just a matter of execution at that point. And like I said, we in a couple segments earlier, you know, we put ourselves behind the sticks on a couple different occasions with self-inflicted wounds, and forced us to get out of, you know, kind of the personality of who we are with this team offensively. And, you know, once again, that's kudos to Finley, you know, making sure that you know they were in that situation. But you know, a lot of frustration on our part there.
And then now just kind of looking at that time possession game, it's kind of talked about a lot in a lot of different sports. How important is it in football to kind of give all 3 sides of the ball some rest?
Well, at times, I've been a part of games where we've been beaten on time of possession but won the game going away. You know, so a lot of times, you know, there's an old phrase, you know, stats lie, or figures lie and liars figure. You know, in this case right here, I think the time of possession was probably a result of them at the end of the game being able to salt it away and us not getting off the field, you know, get them off the field on 3rd downs. If we're able to not have the self-inflicted wounds, I think we continue some of those drives. But, you know, ifs and buts were candy and nuts, every day be Christmas.
So one of the positive things here that I took from this game, just one of the players that stood out to me was Chris Maloney. And, you know, he's only a freshman right now, so talk about his development going forward and, you know, being one of the future backs of this team.
It's exciting to see his development from where he was when he came into training camp this year, and you know, not really knowing everything, but seeing his confidence grow, and he's now getting to a point where he understands his role, you know, in the run game, in the pass game, in protection, and to see him perform. And he's getting to a point where his ability can show through, and we're really excited about his future. Yes.
That's awesome, and you know, now we got to talk about that 86-yard punt. My goodness, that one just rolled in the air. How did that alter that drive at the end of the second quarter?
Well, and you get excited when you get a chance to pin them. I think we downed the ball on the 1 or inside the 1. And so you're expecting, especially when you force them to punt, you're expecting to be able to change the field position a little bit, have a shorter field, and you know, give their punter a credit. You know, he boomed it, and you know, over what we normally expected, and it was definitely a turning point in the game.
You mentioned those penalties a lot and those self-inflicting wounds. What's the preparation going to look like in terms of that to, you know, maybe stay a little more disciplined this week?
Well, it all comes down to technique. It all comes down to technique, and you know, with you talking with the holding, you got to keep your hands inside. You got to keep them in the framework of your body. You can't, you know, lobster claw people like this, especially when you're on the perimeter. You know, there's an official right there you're right in his view. You know, hey, that's you got to make those calls. So we weren't paying attention to detail enough to execute the technique well enough. That's what it comes down to. We don't worry about officials' calls. Hey, they do their own thing. We don't worry about that. We got to put ourselves in a position where officials' calls do not determine an outcome of a game. And I do not believe that officials' calls determine the outcome of this game. You know, those are the calls. You react to it, and you make sure that they're not an impact on what's, you know, what the thing is going to at the end.
And now as we officially turn this page and, you know, focus on Lake Erie, talk about the tone of practice this week, especially, you know, with Senior Day coming up.
Well, we're going to honor those seniors, and some of the tone's going to be the same as it's been the whole year. You know, you put the time in, you need to go. You know, we're at a point now where practice is going to be about an hour, and so it's usually 2 hours, about an hour and 40 minutes. And we still get the same amount of reps in we got in when we had a 2-hour practice. Just that the tempo is faster, the speed is faster. But it helps save some of the wear and tear on your bodies, you know. So that part should not change. That part should not change. We debrief at the end of every single practice with a team break. We continue to point out, you know, did your play today in practice honor those seniors? Because that's the good first start to be able to do that on Saturday. You're going to play like you practiced. So that'll be the first thing I bring up to them tomorrow.
Well, there you go. Thanks for taking your time and sitting down with us here, Coach. And I'm excited for the rest of the show.
So am I.
We'll take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. You're watching the Doug Geiser Show right here on the Eagle Network.
Need a construction team that can do it all? Bo Lacey Construction delivers experience you can trust, done right on time, with free estimates and special financing offered for roofing, siding, gutters, windows, bathrooms, decks, to the highest standards of excellence, quality, and knowledge in the industry. Bring your next project to life with Bo Lacey Construction.
Budget, save, invest. A plan to help you make smart retirement choices today. Your future self will thank you.
This ad has been provided by Donald M. Graham and Associates, where our dedicated team will help you meet life's complex financial challenges. Call today to schedule your visit at 1-800-322-6116. Securities and advisory services are offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, member FINRA SIPC.
Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 10. I'm Caden Crankister alongside Coach Geiser, and now we've got Caden Riddle on the show. Caden, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you on here. So, first and foremost, let's get the negative question out of the way. The game against Findlay, your thoughts on how that one went?
Yeah, obviously you never like to lose to those guys, but as Coach Geiser says, you got to turn the page, and our goals are still ahead of us with the W next week, and yeah, excited for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and Coach Geiser, you take a look at Caden's play after that game against Findlay. What were your thoughts on how he played?
You know what, I usually don't go with individually. I think just kind of overall, run game-wise, it was one of our top games as far as a run efficiency, but we didn't have enough opportunities.
Yeah.
And pass pro, which has been really, really good for us during the year, we struggled at times. Struggled at times with a 3-man rush and a 4-man rush, which hasn't bit us the whole year. So I think, throwing it together, it was kind of up and down, inconsistent, and we'll learn from it and move on.
Yeah, and Caden, I think you look at, a chance to turn a page and put a loss behind you. How does the coaching staff really put that in your guys' mind, saying, hey, we had this loss this past weekend, but we're looking to Lake Erie now? Yeah,
I think not only the coaches, but the leaders as well. They try and keep us up. Any bad attitudes, it's not going to fly, and just looking to turn the page, like I said, and continue the season on a good note.
Yeah, and you look at your chance to start last season with this team in 2024 and really make a big impact this year as well. When you look at your time at Ashland University, what's that development been like to become a guy that's up there game in and game out?
Yeah, it's an honor to play at Ashland. There's been lots of greats that have come before me. I have a great coach in Coach Cordell and Coach Geiser, and along with that, great leaders with Nick and Ethan who have been here forever. I think they're looking to start their 50th game this season, hopefully. Wow. So that's been great to play beside those two. It's been kind of easy to work into the rotation there, and just a great group of guys. Been loving it.
And you talked about leaders, but I think the interesting thing too is that no matter who you are, whatever class you are, but if you're starting out there, you obviously are going to have younger guys looking to you. Is there any guys that you kind of taken under your wing and said, hey, I'll show you the ropes?
Yeah, there's some great freshmen that came in. Look at guys like Jeremy McDonald, Eli Helmuth, Mitchell George, just younger guys. It's always good to teach them what because I had guys before me like Nemo and obviously Nick and Ethan that have helped me. So it's nice to let them in on some of my little secrets, and yeah.
Oh. And Coach Geiser, how have you seen Caden and his abilities to lead and grow as an individual here at Ashland?
That's the exciting thing for me. I think there's another level that he's going to go to here, as we start next season, 2026. And from seeing his development from getting a chance, I think your first start was actually the bowl game.
Yeah.
Your true freshman year, which thank you for the new redshirt rule in NCAA in Division II. It allowed him to kind of get a dry run before being thrown in against IUP in the 2024 season. And to see his development and his confidence grow just from that. It's just a matter of seeing, letting his ability show through. from a guy that came in here from a smaller school, local school, had a great career, but there's a lot of things that you weren't asked to do in high school.
Yeah.
You didn't have to pass block that much.
Yep. Nope.
You didn't have to add very much at all. And so see the way he's grown in that level right there, and yeah, just to hear him talk about giving back to the young guys in the room, that's the neat dynamic on the team, and especially in the offensive line room where, the older guys are actually helping the young guys maybe to take their job. But there's a selflessness there, one of the traits of an Ashland man, and it's we've had some great guys through the years that bought into that, and Nick Walker and Ethan Enders are the last two in that line that has carried on that tradition of giving back to the young guys. And it's been neat to see. It's been neat to see. Yeah.
And I'm going to preface this by saying this is no knock to any other player on the team and any other position group coach. But I don't know if I've ever told you, for the past 3 years, my favorite people to talk to are the offensive linemen. And I think it's because that you guys got such a strong bond internally, but also externally, you guys are out there as well. And Caden, what's that been like to be a part of an offensive lineman room that, is so extroverted and loves to, interact with everybody?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it best. I don't know anybody that hates the guy that's in the O-line room. There's nice, outgoing guys, and it's great. Most of my friends are O-linemen, and yeah, it's just a great group of guys.
Yeah, and Coach Geiser, how have you made sure that offensive line room, that culture remains the same year in, year out?
Well, I was able to be a part of that for many, many years and coach the position like I would have wanted to be coached because I was a former offensive lineman. And to see, Jim come in and kind of take it to another level, it's been great to see. Because I'm a big-time believer that group, is kind of where the team starts. And that's no offense to anybody else on the team, but you have a strong offensive line that usually bodes well for the team overall. And they've continued that tradition and even probably surpassed it. And it makes me excited for the rest of the team because I see some of those things starting to happen in other positions. Specifically, maybe the defensive back room, the secondary room. You see guys emerging like an E.J. Tia and Izzy Vasquez, a Riley Weiss, Jelon Jackson. They're doing a great job, and you're starting to see those same bonds form. You see it with the defensive ends, with Mike Shimmick and what he's done, kind of taking those guys under his wing. I've seen it with the defensive tackles, the quarterbacks, so it's been neat to see that start to grow, and that only bodes well for the chemistry of our team.
Yeah, and Caden, my last question for you. Jack Miller Stadium this coming Saturday, regular season finale. What's that mean for you and getting people out there and supporting you guys?
Yeah, it's always great to be at home in front of your home fans. There's nothing like it, nothing like playing at Ashland. And I'm excited. Hopefully this isn't our last one. But if it is, it was great. And hopefully send the seniors out on a good note.
Exactly. Well, it should be a great one, Caden. Thanks for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll step aside, join you back here soon. As a reminder not to go anywhere, you're watching the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 10. Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 10. I'm Cade Krakus, now joined alongside Coach Geiser and Coach Cordell. Coach Cordell, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you on the show again. And before we dive into everything, let's talk about your title here. Associate Head Football Coach, Offensive Line Coach, Run Game Coordinator, Long Snappers, Pro Liaison. What does it all entail?
It's a lot. You gotta, there's always priorities. Fortunately, for example, the long snappers do a great job of Nolan Kenny's done a great job snapping all year. From his first snap last year that went over the punter's head, he's been perfect. He's been flawless since. So, I coach those guys.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Coach those guys a little bit, but just do whatever the program needs.
Yeah, and that's the exciting thing about it is that kind of that. I guess that would be that next man up mentality sort of thing in the coaching side of things. But Jim, before we dive into the rest of the things for today, your thoughts on that game against Findlay?
Tough and frustrating. Saturday I was a part of 7 teams at Ohio State. Okay, so 5 as a player, 2 as a coach, and never lost to Michigan. And kind of like, is this what it feels like to lose a rivalry game that's tough like that? So hurts, stings, very frustrating the way it played out. There were penalties, there were turnovers. Obviously we've got to control those ourselves. We can certainly control turnovers, and then just put ourselves in best position not to allow the refs to influence the game. So it was a frustrating game, and I know talking to the guys, underclassmen, it'll certainly help motivate us next year when we play those guys. Yeah,
and we talked a little about the penalties throughout this show, but just kind of from your perspective, how do you cut down on penalties from the sense of from what you saw against Findlay?
Yeah, I mean, you could grade the film and look at it and see, if I was the ref, I wouldn't call. But if you're not in front of a guy and there's a little bit of cloth showing, then you have the opportunity to be called. So Ethan Enders one time kind of got tossed. Don't think there was any holding, but just because he wasn't in front of the guy, we squirt through there for 9 yards. They throw the flag and it stops the drive. So you just got to keep yourself in good position in relation to the defender and the ball carrier, and not let the refs throw a flag.
Yeah, and we talk about momentum too, but it's tough, winning a bunch of games straight and then falling to Findlay. But then you guys have a chance to bounce back here in the regular season finale against Lake Erie. Your thoughts going into a game against Lake Erie and what you guys can do to come away with a victory?
Yeah, regardless of circumstance, whatever the circumstance, we're in a pretty good circumstance right now. But even if we were in a worse circumstance, we've got a great group of seniors that we're going to honor. So I've got 4 in the line room.
Wow.
Nick Walker, Ethan Enders, AJ Moniachi, Hunter Kaleo. So, guys that Ethan's literally put his body into this program. A long list of surgeries, some pretty serious hip joint surgeries, and just bled and poured everything into this program. So, regardless of our circumstance, we'd give everything, to go out with a win for those guys. Nick Walker started a ton of games. AJ's been a stalwart on our field goal unit, great field goal unit all year. Hunter started all season 2 years ago. So that's what the biggest thing I think about this game. So it hurts, it stings, but we're fired up to go out at Jack Miller with a big win for those guys.
Yeah, and Coach Geiser, something that we've talked about in the past is obviously, Ethan's ability to get out there and go through all these different adversity things and come out there and play for you guys. And you look at, underclassmen or people that are trying to work their way up, and they see a player like Ethan who's grinding through these things. What does that mean to a program, and how does that build, like we talked about, a bit of that culture?
Well, there's 6 words that we say embody what an Ashland man is. And the first thing that you think of with Ethan Enders is grit and his ability to fight through and show not only physical toughness, but mental toughness, and not get caught up in circumstances, but always asking, what can I do to help the team? Okay, and he's very, very strong mentally, along those lines. So, it's a great role model for the guys, and I would also put Hunter Kaleos in that mix too. He's gone through some physical maladies as well, and shown a lot of grit, and just always been there whenever he's been called upon. So, and you look at somebody like Nick Walker, who doesn't miss practice, doesn't miss games, and AJ Moniachi has gone through some things. So all 4 of those guys really embody that grit that you want at that foundation of your team, which is the offensive line.
Yeah, and Coach Cordell, I've been thinking about how to phrase this question, but from the standpoint of you, going on and playing at the college level and then playing professionally, and you able to have a career that lasts so long, how do you ensure that these guys, take advantage of the opportunities that they have on the field now? And like you mentioned with those seniors, like, hey, your time, playing football might be coming to a close. You want to leave it on the best foot possible.
those guys have a good awareness of that themselves. So they're a humble, hardworking, loyal group that they've put everything into this program, and so they have an understanding that it may come to an end. Now Nick has scouts looking at him, and he's got the ability to play at a professional level. Would love to see him get a shot, but a guy like Ethan knows that his body's on its last bit of go, and he's going to have his MBA, and he's going to get married in the spring, and he has done what we try to do here, which is pursue excellence.
Yeah.
So he has done that, and I hope that we get a win this weekend on Senior Day for him, and be able to keep playing some football with this group.
Yeah, and last thing, Coach, we talked about it here on this show, but the Super Region, exciting for you guys still to be within that top 4. In terms of that, obviously, Findlay, UND, and Ferris are above, but you guys have that number 4 spot. What's that mean to the program?
It's obviously good to be, even with 2 losses. I think we schedule hard here, so IUP is a good win for us, and then 2 teams that are ahead of us that we've lost to. I don't know how they do it or look at it or rank it, but we were up 12 against Indy in the 4th. It was a tight game with Findlay. So I think whoever's doing the rankings, they look at the resume, they look at the stats, right?
Yeah.
I think we're leading the country in sacks. We're block kicks, like just all 3 units. Are very good, and you could say, okay, yeah, that team is legit. You can look at stats, and we have 2 losses, but it's 2 teams that are ahead of us in the rankings.
For sure. Well, Coach, I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll step aside, join you back here soon as we get ready to wrap up this week's show of the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 10.
At Ashland University, tradition meets innovation. From academic success to championship athletic programs, Ashland University is a place where students discover their passion and prepare for life after college. With small class sizes, dedicated faculty, and an active campus community, Eagles soar higher here in Ashland. This message is brought to you by Barefoot Floors in Ashland, Ohio, serving residential and commercial flooring needs in Ashland and surrounding areas for the past 38 years.
Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 10. I'm Cade Krackus, joined alongside Coach Geiser. And Coach, it's time to talk about Lake Erie, the team you guys will be facing this upcoming weekend at Jack Miller Stadium at 1 p.m. on Saturday. So diving into some of the depth side of Lake Erie, personnel-wise, what do they have to offer?
Well, if you look at all 3 phases, on offense, they can be very, very explosive, especially in the passing game. And so quarterback can get the ball out quick. He's got they played a couple different guys. He's got pretty good feet, so we got to stay in our rush lanes. It's been a little problem the last couple of weeks for us at times. And so in the defense got to be on point. Hopefully that pass rush that's been there the whole year will show up and get a chance to get some pressure on that QB. You look on defense, they play a lot of different schemes. And so it's almost like the final exam for the year for the guys up front and in our protections and in the run game. We're going to see basically almost every front we've seen, every blitz we've seen at this point. So it's a matter of hopefully those habits, the good habits, are ingrained up to that. And then on their special teams, they got some very dynamic returners. And so we're going to be tested in all three phases in this final exam of the regular season of 2025.
Yeah, and you take a look at your side, obviously a couple things to clean up from that game against Findlay, but turning that page in the book and you look at some position groups that you want to see step up on your side, is there any particular that come to mind for you against Lake Erie?
I would say first and foremost, we really need to work on ball security. You know, the ball has been on the ground way too many times here in the past 3 to 4 games, you know, even if it hasn't always been a turnover. So it's knocking us off schedule. So number one is really, you got to protect that football. Protect it like gold, 10 ounces of gold. Along with that, we've had a lot of self-inflicted wounds with penalties, putting us behind the sticks, putting us off schedule. So offensively, those two areas right there, and that entails all the positions. All positions have been culpable in the last 3 or 4 games in that respect. On defense, you know, we got to work better at situational football. There's been a trend here last 3 or 4 weeks. Third down conversions for the opposing offense has steadily risen. And that's something that we've got to kind of nip in the bud if we want to get a chance to play beyond this week. And that's a big factor there with that. And then on special teams, you know, continue to make good decisions as returners, you know, especially on the kickoff return team. We need to make sure we're getting beyond that 26-yard line every single time we receive a kickoff.
Yeah, and I think that when we had talked last week, you said one thing in particular that you wanted to see the defense focus on was defending the passing game, and you guys did that well. How do you carry momentum like that into a game like you have the one coming this weekend against Lake Erie?
Well, hopefully the habits that you've trained in practice, you've talked about in meetings, are ingrained, so they carry over. You know, you got to understand what you did to have success before, and then call on that once again going forward.
Yeah, and you look at a team like Lake Erie as well. They're not having the greatest year right now, but something that I know that you mentioned is any team can get you any game of the week, and especially with it being week 10, you know, you've been a coach for so long, and not speaking for Lake Erie, but speaking to that situation where, hey, it's still the last week of the season, and if anything, that gives you a bit more motivation to want to win the game, correct?
Absolutely. It's a chance to make their season. It's a chance to make their season, give them a bump going into the off season. They are a very young team. And you get that kind of confidence, it can really help take your program to a next level as you start the next season. And going all the way back to training camp, the thing we preached was, hey, everybody on our schedule can beat us if we don't play. And conversely, we can beat every team on our schedule too if we play, understand, and stick to the principles that our program is built upon. So those things are still pertinent this week. And it's tested us through a very a tough schedule up to this point, but we're at Jack Miller Stadium. We like playing at home, and I'd really like to send those seniors out with a win in their last regular season game at Jack Miller. Yeah, and last week with Findlay, one thing that we mentioned was the fact that they had 2 different quarterbacks playing for them throughout the season due to injuries or whatever it may be. But a similar case for Lake Erie. They've had 3 different quarterbacks play for them this year. One quarterback, Clark, playing 8 games, Martin playing 6 games, and Newell playing 3 games. What does that offer in terms of the scouting side of things? Well, what you do is you look at each of the guys and see if there's differences in skill set. Are they changing the system when they go in to tailor it to their skills? And there seems to be a lot of commonalities there with that. A couple nuances here and there. Maybe one's a little bit more mobile than another. One's maybe a little bit better throwing the ball downfield. So we'll understand those nuances there. But we might expect to see all 3 of them.
Yeah, and you mentioned it way back in that first segment here today, but Jack Miller Stadium, and even though it was an unfortunate outcome this past weekend against Findlay, you guys had them rocking in the stands, staying loud. How important is it to have them out there and giving those same vibes and that same atmosphere here this weekend in the regular season finale?
It's huge. It's huge. We feed off that energy. We always do. Our players enjoy playing in front of our home fans. We had a chance to play in front of the 2015 championship team too, and we brought them in the locker room, and just so our guys could feel that energy that those guys had from winning that championship 10 years ago. So it's, hey, I would encourage it. We love our fans, and we hope to help, see them come out and support that senior class and send them out on the right foot.
Yeah, that's the hope. And as again, a reminder, that game at 1 p.m. so you can catch all the action from Jack Miller Stadium as the Eagles take on the Storm. Well, we'll have our final segment coming your way here soon. We'll take a look at the season schedule, the standings, and wrap things up. Stay tuned. You're watching the Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 10.
Need a construction team that can do it all? Bo Lacey Construction delivers experience you can trust, done right on time, with free estimates and special financing offered for roofing, siding, gutters, windows, bathrooms, decks, to the highest standards of excellence, quality, and knowledge in the industry. Bring your next project to life with Bo Lacey Construction.
Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 10. I'm Cade Krakenstone alongside Coach Geiser, and it's our final segment. What a show we've had today.
Yes, it's been. I always like to highlight our players, and Cade had some really good insights, as far as his career so far, and it's always fun to listen to Jim Cordell talk about his experiences.
Yeah, how could it not be, especially two great individuals that we had on the show here today. Well, let's dive into talking about this season. It's been a long one for you guys. You guys got one more week to go, but taking a look at the general scope of things and how the season really went, kind of your thoughts as we approach the back half.
The first thing, I'm really super proud of the guys on the team and the way they responded to playing 6 of the first 8 on the road. That showed a lot of mental toughness, a lot of stick-to-itiveness, a lot of sticking together, and I'm really, really proud. I mean, I wouldn't have said it in August. That was quite the hill we had to get up, and they didn't bitch, didn't whine, didn't complain. And all they went is looking forward. Let's play the next team. Let's knock them off. And they put us in a great situation now where we might get a chance to play beyond.
Yeah, and we talk about a long season. A specific thing too is injuries and guys getting banged up. How proud have you been of your guys to be able to rally past that and have that next minute mentality?
It makes me feel good as a coach because you always preach that, and you hope the guys are listening to it and they ingrain it, and they've really embraced that mantra. And we've had a lot of great performances with guys we might not have been counting on as much during the off season. They've really stepped up and made themselves a really key part of the team.
Yeah, and looking at the Great Midwest Athletic Conference standings, Findlay holding that #1 spot, but things can still wind out here in the back half of the season. How have you really enjoyed the level of competition in the conference this year?
It continues to improve. I think we remember talking earlier in the season, Northwood was a very good football team.
Yeah.
And I expect them to be at 8 or 9 wins at the end and be there right at the end. And you'll see, Dustin's done a great job with his group, and they're right on our heels. And you look at Tiffin. Tiffin's had our schedule's been very similar to ours. Their first 4 were on the road. And so they were road warriors early with that as well. And you look at a Walsh team, they've undergone some injuries but still fight through. How Dominican is an always tough out. So it's the middle is starting to raise a little bit, and the bottom's starting to raise a little bit more from there. And this conference is going to continue to grow with its stature throughout the years.
Yeah, and so we talked about the schedule, we talked about the conference. Now let's talk about things at large, and that's the super region. We obviously got a great news earlier this week that you guys were still within that top 4 marks. And to give the audience a bit of understanding, it's Ferris at 1, Findlay at 2, Indy at 3, and then you guys at 4. What does that mean to the program?
Well, this is the first year that the NCAA has expanded the pool to 32 teams.
Okay.
So there's 4 super regions, 8 teams in each super region will make the playoffs. The top 4 will host. There's no longer a bye in the first round. So, to still be considered in that top 8 is tremendous. But as we talked on Sunday, without even knowing this information, nothing happens unless we get a W this weekend. Unless we have a chance to go 1-0 against Lake Erie. All this other stuff doesn't mean diddly squat. So it doesn't change, keeping the most important things the most important things. So let's go 1-0 against Lake Erie, let everything else kind of, shake itself out. It's comforting to know if we do take care of business, we had a really good chance of hosting and playing another game at home at Jack Miller. But like we said, let's keep the most important thing, and let's find a way to beat Lake Erie on Saturday.
Exactly. Got to go 1-0 every week, Coach. Well, it was great. It was great to be back here in the studio, and it's been a fun show. A little bit different, but we'll be back in Buffalo Wild Wings next week for the regular season wrap-up, which will be great. But just want to say thanks to everyone coming out here today. Obviously, Caden Riddle coming on the show, Jim Cordell, obviously yourself, Coach Geiser, and obviously a major thank you to the Ashland University Journalism and Digital Media Department and all they do, because we couldn't do it without them.
Couldn't do it without John Scrata and his team. He does a great job.
Exactly. Well, that's all that we've got here on the Doug Geiser Show, Year 3, Episode 10. As a reminder, always stay tuned back in on Mondays and then for the reruns on Thursdays. We'll catch you guys next time. Thanks so much for tuning into the Doug Geiser Show right here on the Eagle Network.